Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver.
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder. No!
Welcoming you to your weekend for today.
Arise, oh compatriots, it's time to use our voice.
Hello there, it's time for another weekend file on the NTA and we are live in Abuja. Almost every year for the past 2 decades, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has been embarking on strike, demanding one thing or the other. In fact, since 1999 till date, with the exception of the years 2004, 2012, 2016 and 2021, ASUU strike has been a recurring decimal. In fact, since 1999, or rather in 2020, ASUU went on a 9-month strike, which was the most prolonged in recent years. The latest strike action, which began on the 14th of February 2022, comes 13 months after completing a 9-month strike over funding of universities, including welfare. The current strike, which has been extended by 8 weeks in March, is suggestive of an unending phase-off. As is usual with ASUU strikes, the students are on the receiving end in many areas, ranging from loss of academic calendar leading to low quality education, increase in social vices among the students, insecurity and drainage of national economy. The federal government has been doing its best to see to the smooth running of the universities. This requires that both parties, that is ASUU and the federal government, must embrace dialogue in order to reach a consensus. So tonight on Weekend File, we'll look at unending ASUU strike and impact on the education sector. We'll bring you updates from zones plus discussion session with experts and the field. I am Kenen Ima Aborike. You're welcome. Kaduna State Command of the National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency has intercepted 1 kilogram of substance suspected to be cocaine and more than 500 kilograms of Indian hemp along Kaduna-Abuja Highway. The consignment is suspected to be delivered to bandits in their hideouts in some parts of Kaduna State. Achari Maxwell reports.
1 kg found to be 1 kg pure cocaine.
Illicit drugs intercepted were concealed as waybills for onward delivery to the northeast and some criminal dens in the state. 2 suspected drug cartels were arrested in Mando Garage in possession of white powder suspected to be cocaine. Among those arrested with cannabis sativa is one Salihu who claimed to use the substance as poultry feeds. Kaduna command of the NDLEA accused the suspects of delivering illicit substances to bandits.
If it is an cannabis addict or a codeine addict or any of the drugs in a locality that you just pass and laugh, it's more dangerous. Know from today that he serves as a basic source of information. Because all these bandits and other, all you have to do is to identify what he's abusing. Come with a little portion of it. Believe me, he will give the name of all the peoples and their number of cars, their number of children in that locality.
The command called for credible community-based intelligence and strong synergy among security agencies in dealing with drug cartels in the state. The suspects will be charged to court after investigation in Kaduna. Achari Maxwell, NTA News.
The Nigeria Police Kogi State Command has confirmed the attack on the Adavi Police Division by suspected hoodlums resulting to the death of 3 police officers. Francis Udojo reports.
The Police Public Relations Officer Kogi State Command, DSP William Aya, who confirmed the incident off camera, said the alleged hoodlums shot sporadically at the police station, killing 3 police officers, while the men on duty and operatives of the Quick Response Unit repelled the attack as some of the alleged gunmen fled with bullet wounds. DSP William Aya also noted that the Commissioner of Police in the state, Edward Ebuka, had deployed tactical police operatives to the area while trailing the hoodlums with a view to apprehend them. The Commissioner of Police has urged the people of Adavi and its environs to be on the lookout and report anyone seen with bullet wound to the police or any security operative. From Lokoja, Francis Sudojo, NTA News.
About 100 youths are feared dead resulting from a fire which engulfed an illegal crude oil refining site at Abeze Forest in Ohaji, Ebwema local government area of Imo State. While details on the incident are still sketchy, a statement from the Office of the Commissioner for Petroleum Resources, Goodluck Opia, indicates that over 50 people sustained various degrees of injury while aquatic lives have also been destroyed. The statement, which reveals the identity of the owner of the illegal refinery as Okenze Onyewoke, quotes the commissioner as alleging that the perpetrators are indigents of neighboring states whose acts are destroying the means of livelihood of the Ohaji people. He further appeals to the youths to desist from engaging in of petroleum products, stressing that it is suicidal. The commissioner also confirmed that the owner of the illegal bunkering site has been declared wanted. Now, Minister of Human Affairs Dane Paulin Taleng has reacted to another case of domestic violence involving a 32-year-old Samuel Matthew of Angoli in Jos South local government area of Lato State, when the perpetrator with his husband to mercy, Samuel, mutilated his wife by tearing open her stomach with a knife. Even with the timely intervention of neighbors who intercepted the fight and rushed Mercy to Bingham University Teaching Hospital, the victim died shortly after a surgery was conducted on her. While appreciating the swift joint action by neighbors, family and the police in handling the situation, the minister called for the immediate arrest of the perpetrator, who happens to be husband to the deceased, to ensure justice is served and to stem a repeat of such gruesome development. She equally called relevant organizations in the state, such as the Ministry for Women Affairs, Association of Social Workers in the state, to come to the aid of the victims' children through psychosocial counseling to combat the effect of trauma resulting from the incident. Hundreds of Muslim faithful in the 6 area councils of the FCT have benefited from the benevolence of the Jamaatul Izalatul Bidar Y Ekamutu Sunar Jibwis as it donates food items. This is in the spirit of the Ramadan fast. Rosemary Bilal reports.
It is an endurance period for Muslims all over, and to survive the long months of intense worship, charity to the needy remains uppermost. This is why the Islamic sect of Jibwis is reaching out to Muslims community across the FCT to exemplify one of the practices as sanctioned by Islam during the holy months. Saluddin, 11, and Alima, 13, are both orphans and counted among scores of beneficiaries who are returning home with various food items to sustain them in the remaining days of the Ramadan fast.
Normal give us clothes, food, and even book they used to give us, and Bible and bag and sauce, and they give us sandals, and they pay our school fees for us.
Jamaatul Izalatul Bidya Waikamutun Sunnah says the intervention is in conformity with the practice of Islam, especially in the holy month, to assist those in need.
They are after openness because they lost their parents, they lost their parents. Nobody is taking care of them. And they are the leaders of tomorrow. We cannot play with them. That's why the GBOs come in to become the parents of the orphans, so that they will be the good leaders of tomorrow.
The organization set of committees around the states so that they can assist these indigent orphans.
For many others out there who anticipate such gesture, the intervention may serve as a lubricant to enhance their worship and supplications, just like Saluddin and Halima. Rosemary Bilal, NTA News.
Good parenting is a driving force towards achieving a better society. This was the crux of discussions at the 9th edition of late Malam Yusuf Jibo Ramadan Lecture organized by NTA2 Lagos Network Center Muslim Community. The report.
The social and traditional media are awash with stories and videos of children being involved in various unimaginable acts. This has set an agenda for discussion in different quarters, with various schools of thought emerging. Some are blaming parents, others schools, while many are worried about the danger that awaits the country if the trend is not addressed.
Lukman had time for his children.
It is against this background that guest lecturer at the late Malam Yusuf Jibo Ramadan lecture admonished parents and guardians to borrow a leaf from Lukman in the Holy Quran, who exhibited excellent parenting skills.
What we want the parents to do is to be exemplary. Any bad thing you don't want to see in your child, please don't do it.
Director General of the NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, represented by the Executive Director News, Malam Muhammad Labbo, is adding his voice to the advocacy of good parenting.
We are all aware there's a lot of moral decadence in the society, and largely it is because of the poor parenting that children of nowadays get.
We have to put in lots of effort, especially on social media, what they watch on television, and within themselves with their friends in school.
The lecture is in honor of a former zonal director of NTA Lagos Network Center, Malam Yusuf Jibo, who died in active service on the 2nd of December 2010. In Lagos, Hinginu John Adams, NTA News.
To politics now, where the Northern Leaders Forum of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, says they are advocating a former Senate President Bukola Saraki and Governor of Bauchi State Bala Mohammed as consensus presidential candidates for the party in 2023 January elections. Professor Ango Abdullahi disclosed this to newsmen shortly after the closed-door meeting with former military president General Ibrahim Babangida at his uphill residence in Minna, Niger State. Musa Mikhail completes the report.
The former Senate President Bukola Saraki, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol of Sokoto State, Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, and Muhammad Hayatuddin had before now expressed interest to vie for the #1 political seat in the country and submitted themselves to the PDP Northern Leaders Forum for screening. The adoption of Bukola Saraki and Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State follow the assessment of the 4 aspirants by the forum, who further consulted Northern elders to arrive at a decision. Professor Ango Abdullahi explained that an election was also conducted by the forum to ensure equity, fairness and transparency.
The discussions that followed the submission of my report allowed Alhaji Muhammad Hayatuddin to go and contest, and the same discussions encouraged Saraki and Auram Bauchi, the governor of Bauchi, to continue to work together towards a consensus.
We are happy that after due process, due consultations involving the Northern Elders Forum, my humble self and Senator Saraki have been taken as consensus candidates so that we can go ahead and consult more between the two of us to bring out one. And of course, even those that have not made it, they are also free to continue to aspire if they wish to.
This, the forum says, laid to rest speculations surrounding consensus to represent the party at the coming 2023 general election. In Mina, Musa Mikhail, NTA News.
A foremost traditional ruler in Yoruba land, Oba Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III, has joined his ancestors. The late Alaafin of Oyo has been described as a phenomenon in Nigerian history whose vacuum will be difficult to fill. This came to fore at a prayer session for the late monarch in Oyo. Adekule Adebayo has more.
The prayer for the deceased, which took place at the quadrangle of the ancient Oyo Palace, was witnessed by the people from all walks of life. The chief imam of Oyo land, Sheikh Abdulganiyu Ajokidero, described it as inevitable and called on the people to move closer to God.
We thank God for him. He came, he spent more than 50 years on the throne, and he died on the throne. He did well. May Allah grant him Al-Jannah.
A professor of history at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Professor Akin Alao, described Alaafin Adeyemi as a monarch with substance based on his intellectual brilliance and political prowess. He maintained that his death remains a colossal loss to the nation at large.
It's a repository of Yoruba history. He personified Yoruba history and culture, and he committed all his life to the promotion of the salient aspects of Yoruba culture.
He was a symbol of intellectual and royalty.
The late Oba Adeyemi ascended the throne of his forefathers in January 1971. The Oyo traditional monarch was described as a phenomenon, an enigma, whose reign witnessed tremendous development in Oyo State and Nigeria at large. Sympathizers have continued to troop in to the Oyo ancient palace to commiserate with the family members over the demise of the respected monarch. In Oyo, Adekunle Adebayo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammad Buhari condoles with the government and people of Oyo State over the passing of Alaafin of Oyo, Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III, 83 years old, whose reign covered major historic transitions in the country and witnessed transformations in his domain. The president affirms that the Alaafin of Oyo's 52-year rule was remarkable in many ways. Most significant was the emphasis he placed on human development, thereby encouraging learning as a culture and formal education as a necessity while promoting the values of peace and stability. As a highly revered traditional ruler, President Buhari knows the late monarch's numerous participations in national meetings and conferences to shape the future of the country and the living words of wisdom he shared at every opportunity on unity and people-focused governance. The president shares the grief with the Oyo State Traditional Council, Oba Lamidi's family, friends and associates, particularly in sports, where he left another footprint. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has described the passing away of the Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III, as a sad development that touched him personally. Gbajabiamila said the death of the paramount Yoruba ruler came to him as a rude shock, describing the late Alaafin, who had been like a father to him, as a very intelligent father with a sound grasp of traditional, social, political and international history. The Arole Oduduwa Oni of Ife, Oni Adeyemi Oguwusi, the third has described the passage of the Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi III, as a loss to the entire Oduduwa race worldwide. Meanwhile, Oni of Ife, Oba Adeyemi Oguwusi, who is also the co-chairman of the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, describes the late Alaafin as a worthy elder whose entire lifetime was dedicated to the promotion of the prestigious Yoruba culture and advancement of humanity. We have lost a great icon, a great monarch who saw Oyo through civilization and modern development without jettisoning the cultural sacredness of the throne first occupied by Alaafin Oramion the Great, the Oni of Ife, added. Similarly, former Lagos State Governor and APC chieftain Ahmed Bola Tinubu says he is deeply saddened by the transition of the revered Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Olaiwola Adeyemi III. Wisely ruling on the throne for 52 years, he became the longest reigning Alaafin that ever ruled Oyo Kingdom. With his transition, a big era has fallen. His passing was an auspicious era in the ancient Oyo Kingdom, but also for the Yoruba and the entirety of the black race, Tinubu added. Bola Tinubu commiserates with the bereaved family, the chiefs, and the people of Oyo Kingdom, as well as government and the people of Oyo State over the loss. This is Weekend File on the NTA Network Service. Time for a break. Do stay with us.
Guy, they make a run use of phone, Jare.
Guy, where did you do your glow line now?
Baba, calm down now. Not be this NIN wahala, they give me stress. They don't even block my lines.
But now glow NIN league is simple pass now. Yes, simple. Just dial *109#. Tell where to do. See, take, give my phone.
What if I don't get NIN before?
Simple. Just go any glow word now. Once you go get your NIN.
Yes. Guy, I get plenty guys wey don link their NIN o until now their phone still dey block.
Tell them when they go any glow word now once they go block their line. Yes now.
No wahala, make I use your own phone for now. I go start my own later.
Guy talk plenty talk. You know say when I link my line, Glow dash me plenty bonus. Yes now, and when you link your own line, Glow fit dash you up to 20,000 naira bonus.
20,000?
Yes, so 20,000 naira bonus.
Yo fam, take your phone. We move. Yeah, I dey go link my NIN.
This bonus now for both new and existing customers, so.
Don't just wake up your child. Wake up the champion in them. Give them energy to help them win every day with Milo at breakfast. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child.
Milo! Every harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Knock, knock, knock. Have you had breakfast this morning? I'm talking about a Kellogg's breakfast. It's fortified with the essential vitamins and minerals so you can stay active and alert. Yummy. So tasty, so nutritious.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action Toothpaste. Sensodyne Rapid Action Toothpaste. Available in a big 100-gram tube and a small 25-gram tube.
Check this out. It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow, first thing.
No time for borders. Gotta stay in control to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
I find the strength I need every time that I look into your eyes. I know they worry, cause I know, say you did by my side. And if I fall away, right in the midst of all my hour, you know that I am for my while. Oh, you always there for me. No matter what I do, you love me unconditionally. You show up for me every day. No matter when I show you, you show me love. You show me love.
You're welcome back to Weekend File. The curation of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is to, among other things, provide a platform for lecturers to highlight salient issues affecting the university system to the attention of government for national interest and development. Over the years, however, incessant strikes by the union in pressing home its demands put a question mark on whether such action can bring about the needed national development. Musa Suleja examines this and other issues.
Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, was formed in 1978 as a successor to the Nigerian Association of University Teachers, formed in 1976, covering academic staff in all of the federal and state universities in the country. In the last 4 decades, the union has always been on the news that has to do with its grudge with the federal government over the deplorable state of Nigerian universities. This led to the signing of agreement between the union and the federal government in 2009. Unfortunately, the agreement has not been fully implemented, leading to incessant strike by the union. But the question on the lips of Nigeria is whether ASUU's public presence or its struggle is achieving the desired objective.
It's very, very unproductive. So there are things that can be settled without going on strikes.
Many believe that the union action are mere rhetorics with little or nothing to show for it, especially on the state of Nigerian universities.
ASUU have overstepped their bounds by not, keening to what the government has offered.
Almost on every account of industrial strike, the union extracts some sort of financial commitment from the government, and this seems to constitute a kind of win situation until the next strike action. Unfortunately, these strikes do more harm than good on the university system, as students have been at the receiving end. Observers say the other side of the national calamity is the government-linked financial resources, which it hinges on as reason for inability to meet the ASUU's demands.
If you ask me, I think the National Assembly budget, they should look for a way to reduce that and then scoop some funds from that angle and put it on the educational aspect.
They should just find a way to speak with the government. They should maybe give them what they need.
The strikes, insistent in nature, keep students at home off the school for a longer period.
And I think students should not be blamed for helping themselves in the circumstances they find themselves when they are idle.
Other countries, they are moving forward, and our children are set back.
In a bid to provide solutions to the incessant strike by the university unions, the federal government has reconstructed the team of pro-chancellors headed by President of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors. The committee has 3 months to devise ways of bringing a stable academic calendar in public tertiary institutions.
I have no reservation that you would conduct this all-important assignment with all the seriousness and the urgency that it deserves. This is more so considering the ongoing industrial action by us and the threats by other similarly unions. It is important to say that in nominating the chairman and members of this committee, the federal government painstakingly considered your contributions as highly experienced university administrators from all the zones of the country.
Certainly, observers are keen to see a resolution of this unhealthy development in Nigerian university system to enable Nigerian universities compete favorably with their counterparts in the world. Musa Suleja, NTA News.
And as the saying goes, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. The grass in this case are the students who bear the brunt of the ongoing industrial action embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In our next report, Ruth Aria Samuel takes a look at the impact of ASUU strike on the nation's educational development.
It is no longer news that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, as a result of its passion to see the nation's education grow and compete favorably with that of other developed countries, has engaged in incessant and perennial industrial actions for years. But what is of great concern to Nigerians is the enormous impact the incessant strike has on the educational sector the union body is trying to develop.
What has been happening is that a segment of students are moving out of the public university system into the private. That has serious implications for the future.
It's a generational disaster. If you have the youth, those people who are supposed to be in school, for a reason not of their own, they are at home.
When a student comes from another country to your country and spends 5 or 6 years for a course of 4 years, it actually affects your country as a whole. So students won't come to your country to school, so it affects your standard.
There is no date in sight when students will go back to public universities. So, what then is the way forward?
Government should realize that, look here, university system is too big for them to handle. They can't handle it. So give autonomy to the universities. Let them be self-sustaining. Let them be self-governing.
Government and ASUU, they should come to a round table. There is no way that the teeth and the tongue will not quarrel, but when they quarrel, there's a need for them to settle. Because if they do not settle, the stomach will be hungry.
Interviewees appealed to government and ASUU to come up with amicable resolutions to their disagreement and work together to get it right if the country wants to meet up with the challenges of a dynamic world. In Lagos, Ruth Ario Samuel, NTA News.
We'd like to bring in our guest at this point. He is Achike Chude, an education expert who is in our Lagos Network Center. Good evening, Mr. Chude, if you can hear me. Go for a break right now and we'll return shortly. Do stay with us.
Oh boy.
Don't just wake up your child. Wake up the champion in them. Give them energy to help them win every day with Milo at breakfast. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child.
Every harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Knock, knock, knock. Have you had breakfast this morning? I'm talking about a Kellogg's breakfast. It's fortified with the essential vitamins and minerals so you can stay active and alert. Yummy. So tasty, so nutritious.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time. No matter about elections alone, people talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
All right, let's rejoin Achike Chude in our Lagos Network Center. We told you earlier that he is an education expert. Good evening, Mr. Chude.
Thank you.
Lingered for so long, in fact, for more than 2 decades now, ASUU strike has remained a recurrent decimal in our polity. And for now, the students are in their houses, and across the nation, talking about those in public universities. What is the disconnect? Let's find out your own submission on that.
No, I don't want to. It is beyond sad. It's a tragedy what is happening because it has very serious national implications and ramifications for the country. I remember that when the billionaire Bill Gates came to Nigeria and visited ASUU Rock, I think to see to the presidency. He was confronted by journalists, outside, and then he was asked to talk about 2 of the most important, which sectors of the political economy of this country are the most important, and he mentioned 2. He talked about education first and then healthcare infrastructure. That with these 2, a country will be on a more even keel. And we know that education is actually the mother or the father of all of the sectors because every other thing depends on the education, especially in the 21st century, with all its, with all the modernities, with all the technology and all the complexities. So you need an educated citizenry, not just for the purpose of maybe building the country, in terms of jobs and infrastructure and all of that, but in terms of security. I think in one of your reports, again, you talked about the obvious implications of having a country where the students, where the education system is shut down. The implications are obvious because there are all kinds of social problems as a result of the dislocations that occur. And even before now, you cannot remove the insecurity upsetting this country in various parts of the country. You cannot remove education from that, where you have, Nigeria is being described as a country with the most out of children, out of school children in the world. So the implications are dire. And again, not too long ago, when I think Okonjo-Iweala was minister, she talked about the fact that our graduates are not teachable, and they are not people that can be used to work for the advancement of the country. Now, that was a very clear indictment. So beyond the fact that a lot of our students are outside, even those ones that have been taught have not been efficiently taught well. And so we have a problem, because if you're for a country that has ambition to move into the 21st century and to play a meaningful role, and of course you know that Nigeria, people talk about the manifest destiny of Nigeria. People talk about the human capital resource of Nigeria. And the fact that if Africa is going to play a dominant role in international politics in the world, Nigeria would have to take the lead. And Nigeria is not going to take that lead if Nigeria does not have an educational sector that is up to scratch. We used to have it years back. But unfortunately, a lot of things have gone down the drain. But it's not just education. I know right now we are focusing on education. But when a country is beset with myriads of socio-political economic problems, virtually every sector of the political economy of that country is going to suffer. So education is just one of it. Unfortunately, education seems, it's obviously one of the most important that a country cannot play with.
What do you think? Because coming to a consensus between both parties, that's talking about ASUU itself and the federal government, has been elusive over time. What is really happening? Can't we get this thing, done and dusted, for the betterment of everyone?
Magician or a miracle worker, if I can give you a solution that will just do the magic, I don't think I'm that, I have that ability. Because, if you look at all the people that have been, very prominent Nigerians that have been showing interest in trying to resolve this crisis, they have not exactly, one commends their effort, but they have not exactly solved the situation. You talk about the other time, the inter-religious, committee in the country engaged the federal government to try to look for a solution. And so I think, again, you cannot take away the solution from, if you want to look at the solution, we have to look at, first of all, the Minister of Labour the other time was talking, and he tried to say that the demands of ASUU is legitimate, but that he is looking at the ability of the government to meet up with the demands of ASUU. And so I think that is where the issue lies. ASUU is talking about some level of autonomy. Perhaps, I think one of the people you interviewed in your report talked about that. Perhaps we should begin to look at that level of autonomy, but then we need to determine what autonomy from the ASUU perspective actually means. Again, you talk about the possibility of raising school fees to a particular level. But again, that in itself has also been problematic because of the deep economic situation in this country. Because once you impose some level of school fees in this country, then a lot of Nigerians will not be able to go to the university. And that becomes, again, a problem. And we need these young people to go to the university. We need them to be properly educated. Again, I also think that perhaps the private sector is not doing as much as it should do. Again, you look at the state of the economy, and you might not blame them too much. But in terms of research, research, for instance. I mean, if you look at countries abroad that we want to emulate, that a lot of our youths are going to, you find out that the synergy between these universities, these institutions, and then the private sector is so high. A lot of the researches that are being conducted on behalf of these institutions, running to millions of dollars, are being conducted by the universities at the level of sciences, at the level of social research, and so on. We want to get the private sector to begin to engage those within the university, the tertiary institution, heavily, especially when they have shown that they are qualified to undertake some of the research that some of them will be giving. That way, they end up attracting money into the university system, and then the government too needs to look for some other ways outside of the traditional, ways of. And somebody talked about perhaps monies that go to some of our political office holders. Perhaps because education is key, everybody needs, to sit down and look for ways to provide a solution. But even at this particular point in time, even if we have a temporary solution, we all know that it's going to be a respite. Because in your report you talked about, the struggle of ASUU for over a period of 20 years. By the time you resolve the contradiction, an existing contradiction, in the next 6, 7, 8 months, another one manifests. So even outside of, resolving the current impasse, you want to have ASUU and the government continue to engage so that the possibility of this strike renewing itself again would be eliminated totally. But I think it's also about everybody being sincere in whatever deliberation that they are doing. Government has to make sacrifices. I cannot exonerate ASUU from also making sacrifices. I think these sacrifices just have to be made. But we also realize, most importantly, and I think your report was very fair and objective, that ASUU wants to resolve the problems of, a lack of a proper education in the country. Unfortunately, people are saying that the way they have gone about it has not exactly helped in, satiating their own, their interest in terms of having that
let me hold you there because we need to go on another break. When we return, we will trash out the rest of this discussion. Don't go anywhere. Do stay with us. We are on Weekend File. As we now tell you that stakeholders in the education sector in Rivers State want the relevant authorities to wade into the lingering ASUU strike, given the consequences of the action on students, parents, and the larger society. Deba Barisi Domanweke reports that apart from the impact on students, the socio-economic activities have also been affected.
Since 1999, the issue of strike has been reoccurring due to non-implementation of agreements between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government. This has led to disruption of academic calendar and pursuits of most Nigerian students. The contention has been hinged on failure to reach on some agreements. The agreements include payment of staff entitlements, university autonomy, non-implementation of the Memorandum of Action it signed with the Union in 2020 on revitalization of public universities, renegotiation of the 2009 agreement, and the deployment of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution.
For the fact that that agreement has not been renegotiated since 2009 means that, lecturers in federal universities have continued to receive the same salary.
So the unending strike is as a result of the federal government not meeting up the demands of ASUU. And those demands of ASUU are legitimate demands.
Recall that ASUU had threatened a warning strike and subsequently embarked on it on February 14, and there seems to be no end in sight. What does this lingering strike hold for the education sector?
Staying at home for years before coming and going back to stay at home again, I don't know, it's not going to go down well with me.
It's going to be discouraging. You understand where somebody had the enthusiasm to study, to read, and all of a sudden you just say stop when it's not prepared. You're going to set the person back.
The business is not going well, to be honest. Sometimes from morning till night, you barely see 1,000. And we have certain bills to pay at home. Most times what you sell at the end of the day wouldn't be enough, to get more stuffs. we are not progressing, to be honest.
Keen watchers are appealing to both parties to resolve this face-off, considering its impact on the education sector. In Port Harcourt, Dibabari Siedoma Weke, NTA News.
From the state of insecurity, COVID-19 lockdown to the prolonged strike by Academic Staff Union of Universities, students of University of Maiduguri are going through hard times and psychological worries in this waiting game. The good news is some are engaging themselves with menial jobs, skills acquisition and volunteer services. Mohammed Ibrahim reports.
The more than 2 months since the ASUU strike commenced, all academic activities remain on hold at the University of Maiduguri, where students most hit are those on the verge of completion of their degree program, saying they are heartbroken.
I have a side hustle which is cooking. The volunteer is just to keep my mind at peace. At least I'm doing something outside school. We really need to be done with school and so that we can face other aspects of our lives.
We venture into all these selling of products, those people that do work with cars and sell all these goods. So that we advertise products and then do sell them. It's better than saying idle, I think, but still the strike should be called off.
There was all these building works, so I have to join them for a week. But going to the second week, I'll go, no any work. I'll go, no any work.
Parents and some lecturers who also decried the unfortunate dimensions in the negotiation between government and ASUU have taken up call for concerted efforts to engage students into useful ventures and businesses to take them from being lured into social vices.
There must be a shifting ground on both sides. The students are idle. They are doing nothing. They are non-productive now. They don't go to school. They don't do anything. They are just sitting at home. It's affecting them psychologically. And we parents were also feeling the pains.
Newly established Borno State University has been enjoying uninterrupted academic activities for 3 years due to its observer status without ASUU branch. It's experiencing increased admission.
Hopefully, by next month, we are going to round up the first semester. I'm appealing passionately for the government to listen with open heart. Let them meet the demands, those demands that they can meet.
Educationists are advising government and ASUU should come to agreement through compromise as soon as possible to save the future of the younger generation now. In Maiduguri, Muhammad Ibrahim, NTA News.
Mr. Achikechu, the education expert in our Lagos Network studio, let's quickly round up with you on this matter. You've heard the respondents talking. Some students have taken their destinies in their hands. Of course, for those of them who do not want to quote social vices, trying to be meaningfully employed here and there at the moment. This may not last forever, but what is the way out finally? Because the students need to go back to school.
It is said that a radical situation calls for a radical, solution. And again, another saying is that where a man's treasure is, there his heart will be. I think we've over the years, in recent times, we've had this phenomenon of the children of policymakers, children of, politicians and the political elites finding succor educationally outside the shores of this country. That has also contributed to a very large extent because if we had, I went to school at a time where the children of the judges, children of commissioners and ministers who sat in the same class with us. So there was this heavy concentration of government to ensure that these schools functioned and they functioned properly because they had an interest. One of the most progressive bills in recent times in this country was one introduced by a member of the House of Representatives that sought to ensure that the children of political appointees and elected public office holders would remain in the country. Look, if they were to remain in the country and not find their ways outside the shores of this country, we would conserve much needed foreign exchange, and then there will be concentration of interest from ministers, people in charge of education in the country, from presidents and all that, because they have their words in this country. It's radical, but it is something that could work. I think that is one way of also looking at it. If we can have that kind of situation, then you know that everybody will work towards ensuring that this crisis is resolved. And then, like we also said, at the level of the ASUU itself, they have a noble intention. They want proper infrastructure in the university system. They want to be paid their salary. Nobody is denying that. The minister did acknowledge that it was their legitimate right. But again, we also need to look for a balance, one way or the other. Just like you said in your report, that when two elephants, fight, it is the grass that is suffering, and that the grass has suffered so much. But just like you said, thank God that a lot of them are beginning to find things to do, while the strike persists. But all hands must be on deck to ensure that this strike is called off. As it is called off, there are continuous, engagements with the government to ensure that we do not have another one lurking by, within the horizon or in the horizon.
We'd like to thank you very much, Achike Chude, for your submissions on this matter tonight on Weekend File. Thanks indeed. We've been speaking with education expert Achike Chude, who was in our Lagos Network Center on the issue of unending ASUU strike in our country. Now, let's go on our last break on Weekend File. Do stay with us, because when we return, sports and more.
I bring you wonderful news. The village headmaster is coming back to your screen.
Rugged, you just go for you, I don't know for you.
It's called Oja Village. We know happy at all.
And I know that even you too, you are getting a lot of orders too. We are trying.
I love you so much.
And how did I give you the impression?
50-year anniversary.
You mean anniversary?
I talk with that now.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's now bring you sports update.
The inaugural lecture of Adeyemi Jimmy, Director, Department of Coaching and Training, National Institute for Sport, titled Podium Success and Sustainable Sports Development in Nigeria, a tripod of psychological interventions, was part of moves by management of the institute to strategically reposition the citadel of knowledge in the sports sector. The lecturer was of the opinion that sports management experts should be allowed to run the affairs of the country's sports sector, while provision of standard facilities, adequate medical facilities, and timely release of enough funds for the sports sector are among other factors needed. In badminton, the coast is clear for Badminton Federation of Nigeria to achieve desired results, as differences amongst members have been laid to rest with reconciliation and consolidation of interest and programs. The board has been strengthened with the drafting of co-opted members, with existing subcommittees reconstituted while some new ones were created. The president of the Federation, Francis Obi, who rolled out the Federation programs, called on all to support it. In volleyball, the National Division 2 Volleyball Championship Friday's result indicates that Chief of Naval Staff Spikers Volleyball Club defeated Taraba Volleyball Association 3 sets to nothing. Same team also walked over G-Ranks Kaya of Kaduna Saturday.
And we're here to top this competition. So we are determined to maintain and sustain our unbeaten run.
At the end of the tournament, we want to see new young players that have come up.
In football, match day 25 of the Nigeria Professional Football League takes center stage on Sunday across various stadia of the federation. Aqua United will entertain Lobby Stars. Same for Gombe United, that will host Katsina United. While in Ibadan, Shooting Stars will lay ambush for Imba Football Club of Aba, among other matches. In the English Premier League, Arsenal continues its impressive runs with a 3-1 win over Manchester United Saturday afternoon. Other results are a goalless draw between Leicester City and Aston Villa, while Manchester City humbled Watford 5-1, among other results. With Sports Update, Olumide Guntola, NT News.
Let's take a look at the weather picture for Sunday.
Glad to have you join us. Partly
cloudy to sunny condition is expected over the north and the north central region, with chances of morning thunderstorms over parts of Taraba. Increased cloudiness is expected over the south, with prospect of morning rains over parts of Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River. Later in the day, there are chances of isolated thunderstorms over the stretch of the coast and parts of Oyo, Oshun, Ogun, Imo, and Abia. Prospect of thunderstorms are also there over the high ground areas of the central state and most places over the northeastern region, including parts of Kaduna and Kebbi. That's where we conclude the weather forecast for Sunday. I'm Sefia Sainusa. Thank you for watching.
We'd like to remind you that you can be a star with the NTA, Stand Against Rape and Rapists. My name is Kenneth Ima. Thanks for watching Weekend File tonight on the NTA, and good night.
Bring you wonderful news.